If you ever see a beautiful woman alone in the Scandinavian forest, don't get too close. Take a look at her back. What you see, or don't see, might save your life. Today we're diving into the Huldra and the Skogsrå, the seductive, dangerous forest spirits who guard the wild places of the north. Every culture has its spirits of the wild, guardians, tricksters, seducers. In Sweden she is the Skogsrå, and Norway the Huldra. The names may be different, but both fall under the larger category of the Huldra folk, the hidden folk, roughly Scandinavia's version of the Fae or the Veator. They may resemble humans, but they are not. Like most Fae, they have their own ways of thinking and doing, which can be good for us or very dangerous, depending on the circumstances. When in doubt about those circumstances, just remember, courtesy and respect go a long way. The Huldra and the Skogsrå are regional variations on the same creature. She will appear as an ethereally beautiful young woman alone in the forest. You would need a closer look to tell anything different, but two things to watch for. She often has a tail like a cow's tail, usually hidden under her skirts. Even stranger, from the back she may appear hollow, like a rotted-out tree trunk. In the case of the Skogsrå, it's all in the name, which roughly translates as forest warden. Like the Gilly-Doo of Scotland and the Leshy of Eastern Europe, she is a guardian of the forest, and she takes her duties very seriously. Any forest seen to be particularly fertile and productive was thought to be under the protection of a Skogsrå or Huldra. Hunters especially had to be careful. Taking game without permission or offerings could lead to trouble, assuming the hunter could manage it in the first place. The deer and wood grouse were said to be especially under her protection. Even a skilled archer would find that his arrows never flew right, and a trapper's snares would always come up empty. If he didn't take the hint and manage to bag a deer or grouse, then the Huldra would take matters into her own hands. One story is told of a young hunter who bagged a deer but couldn't manage to carry it all. So he took the antlers and choicer parts and left the rest to rot. When the Huldra discovered the fresh carcass, she was furious. She tracked down the hunter and confronted him before he could leave the woods. She berated him for taking what rightfully belonged to her, and to make her point, she grabbed one of the antlers and snapped it in half like a twig. Now, if you've never tried to break a deer's antler, you might not understand what a demonstration of strength that was, but the hunter got the point immediately. Not only did he surrender his catch to the Huldra, but he humbly apologized besides. What happened next illustrates the duality of the Huldra legend. Once she had accepted the hunter's contrition and her anger abated, her attitude changed completely. Noting that the hunter was both young and handsome, she turned on the charm. In almost no time, the young man forgets his obligations to his parents and agrees to follow the Huldra deeper into the woods, where he's never seen again. Foresters who had less to fear from the Huldra than hunters did were the charcoal burners and the woodcutters. The key was to not be greedy or excessive when you cut wood, whether for building the home hearth or the charcoal kiln, and the Huldra would not object. She understood, just as the denizens of the forest depended on its bounty to live, so did humans. In the case of the charcoal burners especially, she was sometimes even willing to watch over their kilns at night, in exchange for offerings of food. As with forest spirits and fae of other cultures, it sometimes happened that a Huldra would agree to marry a human. This almost never went well. In pagan times, the marriage would often end for the same reason fae and human unions usually failed elsewhere. Some preconditions, such as never revealing her true nature to others, would be broken by the husband, and the Huldra would leave. As Christianity took root in Scandinavia, the story changed. Now the custom was that the marriage had to take place in a church. Once it was solemnized, the Huldra's tail would fall off. She would lose her magical nature and otherworldly charm, becoming an ordinary human. Worse, she would soon turn resentful and melancholy, and really, who could blame her? It simply shows the folly of trying to tame or possess the wilderness represented by the Huldra. In Germany, the Huldra and Skogsrå legends were transformed into the gentle woodwives. These were small women, sometimes hollow like a Huldra, who wore red, blue, and green and watched over the forest. They seemed fascinated with humans and would sometimes ask for baked items from homesteads near the woods. In return, they would pay not with fairy gold that turned into leaves, but with chips of wood that would transform into actual golden coins. So if a woodwife asked you for a muffin, it was always a good idea to hand it over, preferably with a smile. As with the Huldra, the woodwives got along with the woodcutters, and for a specific reason. With the coming of Christianity, the wild hunt was still around, but now the huntsman was the devil, and the devil, being the rotter he is, liked to hunt the woodwives for sport. Recognizing their danger, the woodcutters began a tradition of carving crosses into the stumps of the trees they felled. All a woodwife needed to do was hide in one of their stumps, and the wild hunt could not touch them. It might interest you to know that, in Scandinavia, the Huldra legend lives on. Sightings of creatures believed to be Huldra have been made and officially reported as late as 2025, by everyone from hikers to forest rangers. One even claimed to have seen her cow's tail, and most report beautiful singing and fleeting glimpses of women flitting through the trees even in the dead of winter. Whether those creatures actually are Huldra is of course open to debate. You're welcome to your theories. I have my own. Whether fact or simply metaphor, the Huldra legend reminds us of one simple truth. Nature isn't just scenery, it has rules. Break them at your peril. If you like this story, hit like. It tells YouTube this is worth sharing. And if you love folklore stories and strange encounters, subscribe for more deep dives every week. Now let's head on to the next tale.